トビデオ
Out of every JRPG franchise out there today, none are in a weirder place culturally than the Shin Megami Tensei series. It is a super influential franchise that has spanned decades across systems, titles, and spin-offs. The perfect series that can be enjoyed by both casual newcomers and the hardest of the hardcore. Simultaneously incredibly popular, but incredibly niche. Unlike in its native Japan, where it enjoys a prolific spotlight alongside the twin titans of the genre Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, here in the West, the Shin Megami Tensei franchise still remains a cult series that appears to have been eclipsed by one of its own spin-offs, the Persona series. Indeed, the Persona series is a brighter, more accessible spin-off that usually involves high schoolers fighting against the forces of evil. More people are probably going to play the game where you can win the heart of your anime girlfriend when not killing demons than they were going to play the mainline series with its complex themes of morality and even more complex difficulty curves. I will admit, I am part of the problem. Ever since I got into the series through Persona 3, that's been my primary place of engagement with the franchise. I do have some SMT games in my backlog. I will get around to them one day, I hope. But I digress. Regardless of the differences between Shin Megami Tensei and its massive spin-off that threatens to engulf it, one thing that keeps these two together apart from that shared franchise title is its overall vibe. Whereas Final Fantasy has its polished cool Japan look and Dragon Quest has its Toriyama pen comic book adventure look, the Shin Megami Tensei series has always had that older skewing anime look to it. It's because of that late night otaku hour look, this franchise always looks cutting edge no matter how far you go back. And if you go back far enough, you'll find that that was the mission from the start.
電子獣ケルベロスよ、聖なる儀式を守りたまえ。
Akemi Nakajima is a bright, gifted student with a mysterious aura surrounding him. He arrives late to class without reprimand, he can order teachers around with impunity, and some staff actually appears to be afraid of him. That is because Nakajima is a talented programmer and is the author of a code called the Demon Summoning Program. Using the school's supercomputer combined with occult ritual, he is able to execute the code and summon a demon named Loki into the machine.
名前はロキ。ロキ？信じられないだろうが、悪魔なんだよ。本物のね。
Nakajima and Loki enter a pact. Loki will do Nakajima's dark bidding against those who have wronged him if Nakajima sends Loki a steady supply of female sacrifices to be his loyal servants. The first of these being his teacher, Professor Ohara. But then things change once a cute but mysterious transfer student enters the scene. Yumiko Shirasagi, a polite young high school girl, has entered the class and already suspects something is up with Nakajima, not only noticing his flagrant flaunting of the rules, but also feeling a weird connection with him, as if Shirasagi had known him from some other place, from some other time.
ねえ、中島くんって言ってたよね。どっかで会ったことあるよね。札幌にいた？いや、ちっちゃい頃奈良に住んでなかった？
転校生へ忠告するけど、あまり僕と関わらない方がいい。
Nakajima, meanwhile, also feels a connection between him and the new transfer students. Shirasagi reminds him of a recurring nightmare he has had being an ancient warrior besieged by a zombie hag he cannot seem to kill despite his best efforts. Shirasagi walks in on Nakajima giving Ohara over to Loki, and Nakajima is all too happy to show off his newfound power to this new student. But that ends up catching the attention of Loki, who demands another sacrifice, and he has just the student in mind.
え？あ、いや、ただ嫌な予感が。
Now Akemi is faced with a dilemma. Does he give Shirasagi over to Loki to renew their dark covenants, or does he protect her to find exactly what connection they have between the two of them?
それは。
1987's Digital Devil Story is in a similar weird place culturally as the franchise it belongs to. It is a foundational anime OVA in the history of both video games and anime culture, and it was even incredibly popular in its day. If you look at the Animage calendar released that year, you will see a chibi Akemi sitting alongside other popular figures of 80s otaku fandom like Nausicaa and the Lovely Angels. And yet, even among retro anime heads and fans of the Megaten games, it feels virtually unknown. Apart from a very poorly subbed version released by the short-lived Kiseki Films in the UK, Digital Devil Story has had 0 Western releases. And even in its home country, the DVD has long been out of print. I find this strange because everything about the Shin Megami Tensei series, from the Personas to the Devil Summoners to the Tokyo Mirage Sessions to even the Catherines, owes their existence to this OVA, at least to a certain degree. What do I mean by that? Well, sit around the pentagram, children, because the history of demons in computer games and how it relates to this ultraviolent anime begins now. So, before social links, before the Matador fight, before Raito Kuzunoha the 14th, before Steven, before Jack Frost, hee-ho, before we even got a chance to recruit a single demon, all there was of the Shin Megami Tensei series were a trilogy of books written by Aya Nishitani. Born on March 14, 1955, Nishitani initially wanted to become a rock star, but decided to refocus his career towards writing as he grew older. When he wasn't writing, he was earning his daily bread by working at Toshiba as a computer programmer. Nishitani was also a fan of horror fiction and the occult, and one day he decided to add chocolate to peanut butter, so to speak. He published a short story in SoftBank's monthly OPC computer magazine about summoning demons using a computer. At the encouragement by a group of industry friends, including Animage's then editor-in-chief Toshio Suzuki, Nishitani took this concept and turned it into a full-length novel. That novel, Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei, was published by Tokuma Shoten on March 31st, 1986. A sequel would be published in October of that year, followed by the trilogy being rounded out in February of 1988. The book series was an immediate hit, with its merging of computer sciences and the occult, 2 areas of studies that were really taking hold of the Japanese public in the 80s. The hearts of many readers were captured by its unique premise alone. This success caused Tokuma Shoten to hit the green light on turning this series into a media mix. To keep people interested in the franchise while Nishitani worked to complete the trilogy, Tokuma Shoten commissioned an OVA, a PC game, and a Famicom game. The PC game would be developed by Telnet Japan, who made the story into a Tower of Druaga-style action RPG. The Famicom title was first pitched to Nintendo, who rejected it due to the source material's mature themes, before being acquired by publisher Namco. Namco then gave the project over to a young, small development team with everything to prove called Atlas. Through director Koji Okada, Atlas turned Nishitani's book into a traditional first-person dungeon crawler in the vein of the then-popular Wizardry series. But not wanting it to just be wizardry with Nishitani's characters, scenario writer Kazunari Suzuki insisted they needed a gameplay hook. The hook in question would be the demon negotiation system. When you battle demons, you have the option to recruit them to your side and have them fight alongside you. While it wasn't the first video game to have such an integrated dialogue system, 1985's Cosmic Soldier beat him to the punch 2 years prior, it was the gameplay hook that was needed to make Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei stand out in the nascent RPG space. It's the reason why that entire system has become a staple for the entire franchise, since I just realized I'm talking more about the games than I am about the anime, so let's get back on track. The games were actually the part of the media mix that Tokuma Shoten had the least expectations for. What they really were focused on was the anime. Tokuma Shoten were really pushing for anime to be the big avenue for their franchises in this period. They did have a lot of influence over Animage after all. And lucky for them, they already had a good in with the industry through the books. The illustrator of the novels was Hiroyuki Kitazume, a rising star in the anime industry. He was the animation director for several Tomino anime, the character designer for Mobile Suit Gundam Double Zeta, and had directed the short Starlight Angel for Robot Carnival. Through that connection, along with Tokuma Shoten's own connections, the Digital Devil Story anime got some prime creatives behind it. It was produced by JC staff with future Mamoru Oshii collaborator Mizuso Nishikubo directing. Nishikubo was having a very busy period in the 80s directing several visually captivating anime like Zillion and California Crisis, so Tokuma Shoten was certainly going to get their money's worth. Watching this anime really reminded me how long it had been since I last sat down and watched a classic 80s OVA, and boy is it ever a high quality example. Through animation director Naoyuki Onda of Demon City Shinjuku and Armitage III fame, Digital Devil's story feels like the upper tier of this kind of anime. The direction resembles the best of Kawajiri's work, with singular colors dominating scenes to elevate the dark mood of the anime. Blues will be used for scenes where Akemi is brooding in his room in his anti-hero fashion, while red is used to emphasize the intense violence he rains down on his enemies via possessed students. The direction fits the move of Kitazume's original art. Through his wonderfully distinct character designs, the anime does feel like the illustrations in motion. They honestly could have let the character designs and directions cook and have it work in concert with the source material. But we're in the 80s with an economy that supports animated excesses, so of course you're gonna get to see animators show off. Nishikubo is putting immense trust in his team, and they pay off that trust with blue ribbon animation. Scenes will look good with the detail and still have some stylish sheen to them that may have been left over from California Crisis. Whether it be the big climactic fight Nakajima has with Loki, or the singular zoom out camera shots, everybody's pulling their own weight. The highlight, though, goes to the reoccurring monster throughout this anime, which is Loki's demon tentacles. They're actually less naughty tentacles you would normally see in an anime of this ilk, and more the titular blob from the remake of the same name that wouldn't be out until next year. This gloppy amoeba of evil energy with tiny tendrils that seek out and destroy. The animators do an excellent job portraying this entity as a viscous liquid that kills people by absorbing them, causing their bodies to explode from within in a shower of blood and viscera.
何これお願いします
Voice acting is also pretty good. Yu Mizushima does a great job as Nakajima, portraying him as dour and cold, but still hasn't completely lost his soul yet, as seen in the second half of the anime when he's genuinely remorseful for his crimes and wishes to atone.
許せイザナミ許せイザナミ許せイザナミ許せイザナミ
Alongside him is Seiko Shimazu as Yumiko Shirasagi, expertly walking the fine line between the wide-eyed innocent she appears to be and the more knowledgeable skeptic she actually is.
ああ嫌な学校に転校しちゃったな特にあの中島ってやつでもどっかであったなあーすっきりしない
As for the story, Nishikubo, who also screenwrote this, put admirable effort in adapting Nishitani's novel to screen. He could have totally done a straightforward adaptation that begins with Nakajima creating the code and going on from there. But instead, he opts to start the story in media res with Yumiko transferring to the class. This helps create a mystery in the beginning as to why Akemi seems to get away with ordering around teachers and said teachers complying with him fearfully.
今日の放課後予定通り置いていただけますね
ええコンピューター室ね
It also makes Yumiko our point of view character in the first half. This is a 45-minute OVA, thus the economics of storytelling dictates that we learn about Nakajima's pact with Loki alongside her. Sadly, I think that's really the only thing the anime has going for it storytelling-wise, because as an adaptation of a book, the Digital Devil story OVA feels kinda dumbed down for lack of a better term. When the book was adapted into a game, Aya Nishitani heavily collaborated with Atlus in making the plot of the book come through, even in the limited format of the Famicom system. One of the earliest decisions he signed off on at the beginning to accommodate storage space was removing a lot of Akemi Nakajima's moral ambiguity, turning him more into a typical hero rather than the brooding Byronic hero he is in the books. And that's okay, because he had to work within the limitations of the hardware given to him. The OVA has no such excuse. Even with a 45-minute runtime, you could still convey Akemi Nakajima being this brooding anti-hero, and he is, for the first half of the anime. So halfway through, Nakajima decides to go through with sacrificing Yumiko to Loki because he's gone this far, he might as well go through with it.
中島君
もう後へは戻れない生贄の準備だ
But then it turns out Loki has other plans and consumes most of Nakajima's class messily to bring himself into the world. Upon witnessing this, Nakajima goes from a cool as a cucumber sociopath to crying and barfing and begging the demon to stop.
やめろロキ
やめろだと全てお前が望んだことだ中島
And yes, this does happen in the original book, but I actually think it was better telegraphed there. Nakajima is more angry and fearful that he has lost control of Loki, and is not happy that the demon is altering the deal, pray he doesn't alter it further. But even before that, he already is in the process of going through a face turn. In the book, he actively refuses to sacrifice Yumiko and even advises her to stay away from the school. Yumiko only finds her way into the computer room because she ignored Nakajima's advice. But in the OVA, Nakajima, while hesitant, still goes along with Loki's orders after sufficient browbeating and becomes a mewling bitch boy once he realizes that maybe he shouldn't have made a deal with a 10-foot tall horned guy, turning him from a brooding anti-hero into an idiot teenager in way over his head. They're light Yagamiing him. I think this storytelling decision is the product of the OVA being focused on the story's more salacious content. Not just the emphasis on the fountains of blood this anime has, but also into suggestive scenes. This is the era where video producers demanded Yoshiaki Kawajiri put a rape scene in Wicked City just so it would sell better. So you get scenes of Ohara moaning loudly as she cybers with Loki and then humps his leg like a dog in heat soon afterwards. But I think the biggest example of changing the book's content to meet the needs of the OVA consumer is this scene. In a flashback to when Nakajima first executed the demon summoning code, he uses it to get revenge on both the bully who brutally beat him and the girl who sicked said bully on him in the first place because Nakajima rejected her advances. In the book, the girl is killed by being held upside down, having a chunk of her thigh ripped out, and her neck broken. In the OVA, her death is portrayed like this.
I don't go down enough.
That's not what I heard.
I can take or leave all of that though. Ultimately, the real harm that character change for Akemi does is to the second half of this anime. So it seems like Loki is about to kill Yumiko until she hears her inner voice speak to her, who tells her her true origins. She is actually the reincarnation of Japan's primordial goddess, Izanami, and she uses her latent goddess powers to fight Loki and escape with Akemi, who we later find out is the reincarnation of the god Izanagi. Short information dump here, Izanami and Izanagi were the primordial gods of Shintoism who were said to have created the islands of Japan, and the story of Izanami's tragic death in childbirth followed by Izanagi's failure to retrieve her soul from the underworld is the basis for most Japanese folklore. In short, Yumiko is the Megami in Megami Tensei. And this is where the problem with the OVA lies. Yumiko gets fatally wounded in their escape attempt, and with her last breath points Nakajima in the direction where she can be resurrected. This is the point in the story where Nakajima feels remorse for his past actions and steels his resolve to finally succeed where his predecessor failed and bring Izanami back to life as his first step towards the path of redemption. But I don't feel that in the anime. It doesn't feel like he earned that compared to how it was in the books. The anime is really missing that crucial scene of Nakajima trying to steer Yumiko away from the school. It establishes that Nakajima's desire to do some good is still there, even as a thrall to a demon lord. It would definitely make his face turn feel a whole lot less sudden. And from that point onward, the anime feels like it's checking off a list. Nakajima, for the most part, clams up, and the rest of the anime is devoted solely to the action, possibly as a means to promote the game that will be coming out alongside it. We see Nakajima traversing an underground labyrinth, we see him fight Loki using a magic sword, we even get to see him summon the demon Cerberus, aka one of the most powerful demons you can recruit early in the game and planned mascot for the series before his throne got usurped by Jack Frost. And while all this action is yet more examples of the incredible animation on display, I find it hard to get invested into thanks to Nishikubo's boneheaded writing decisions a few minutes prior. Not helped by the fact that even after Yumiko gets revived, there's a blatant sequel hook near the end with Ohara using the code to get in contact with another demon called Seth, the antagonist of the second book, rendering the anime less a complete narrative and more of blatant marketing for the source material as a means to complete the story. Digital Devil's story looks nice and is yet another prime example of what the industry was up to in the halcyon days of Japan's bubble economy, putting out some of the best animated OVAs solely as a marketing ploy. But that is a double-edged sword because it clearly cannot stand on its own as its own work, and the oversimplifying of character motivations harms a lot of its potential. At best, the Digital Devil Story OVA is one of those more important than good titles, one of the first foundational building blocks to the Megaten franchise that spanned genres and generations. Both the game devs and the animators pushed themselves into helping realize Aya Nishitani's vision in new mediums, but only one of them was rewarded for it, and it was the one that felt the most complete. Alas, the anime's production has ended, its tale written, but mostly forgotten. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video or want to support this channel, please donate to my Patreon. Each dollar can give you early access to my videos as they come out, as well as keep the channel running a bit more smoothly. You can also subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, or just like this video. Either way, you'll be helping me out. That's all for now. See you for the next round of tapes.